The coffee maker gurgled like a ending animal, which seemed fitting for a Tuesday morning in suburban hell. I'm Max Brody, 42 years old, and I fix other people's computer problems for a living. Exciting stuff, right? My wife Olivia always said I had a gift for making the complicated seem simple. Little did I know she'd been practicing that same skill on our marriage. "Honey, did you see my phone charger?" Olivia called from upstairs, her voice carrying that particular note of manufactured sweetness that meant she was about to ask for something bigger than a charger. "Kitchen counter next to the toaster," I replied, stirring sugar into my coffee. The same spot she left it every single day for the past 8 years. But Olivia had this amazing ability to lose things that were right in front of her face, except when it came to finding her high school boyfriend's phone number, apparently. She bounced down the stairs in her real estate blazer, all blonde highlights and practiced smiles. At 39, Olivia still turned heads, and she knew it. She'd built her entire career on that knowledge, selling overpriced houses to middle-aged men who couldn't focus on square footage when she was in the room. "You're amazing," she said, kissing my cheek while grabbing the charger. "What would I do without you?" "Probably starve to death or get lost in your own driveway," I said with a grin. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. Everything about Olivia sounded hollow lately, like she was performing our marriage instead of living it. "I might be late tonight," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Showing that big colonial on Maple Street. You know how these evening appointments go." I knew exactly how they went. 3 months ago, evening appointments meant coming home smelling like wine and making excuses about client dinners. 2 months ago, they meant staying out past midnight and claiming her phone died. Last month, they meant not coming home at all and spinning elaborate stories about last-minute paperwork and hotel rooms. "Sure thing," I said, taking another sip of coffee. "I'll probably grab dinner with Neil anyway. He's been bugging me to try that new burger place." Olivia's face brightened with relief, so obvious it was almost insulting. "Perfect. You two have fun." After she left, I sat in my kitchen, staring at the ring of coffee stains on our wooden table. Each one told a story of rushed mornings and distracted conversations. When had we stopped actually looking at each other during breakfast? When had good morning become just another item on our daily checklist? My phone buzzed. A text from Neil. "Coffee at 10. Got some interesting neighborhood gossip." Neil Patterson owned the coffee shop downtown and collected local drama like some people collected stamps. He was 45, perpetually single, and had the social awareness of a bloodhound. If something was happening in our little corner of suburban Michigan, Neil knew about it before the people involved did. I texted back, "On my way. This better be good." 20 minutes later, I walked into Neil's grind, breathing in the familiar smell of espresso and fresh pastries. The place was decorated like a 1950s diner, all red vinyl and chrome, but with enough modern touches to keep the hipsters happy. Neil stood behind the counter, his graying beard perfectly trimmed, eyes twinkling with the promise of scandal. "Max, my friend," he said, sliding a large coffee across the counter. "You're going to want to sit down for this one." I found a corner booth, away from the morning crowd of lawyers and accountants grabbing their caffeine fixes before heading to their air-conditioned offices. Neil joined me 5 minutes later, carrying his own mug and wearing the expression of a man about to drop a bombshell. "So," he said, settling into the booth with obvious satisfaction, "I had some interesting customers yesterday afternoon." "Let me guess, Mrs. Henderson complained about the music being too loud again?" "Better." Neil leaned forward conspiratorially. "Mel Davidson and Tara Winters, having quite the animated conversation about your wife." My stomach dropped, but I kept my expression neutral. Mel and Tara were Olivia's closest friends, if you could call 2 women who spent most of their time gossiping about each other friends. They were both in their late 30s, both divorced, and both seemed to view marriage as a competitive sport where the goal was to see who could get away with the most before getting caught. "What kind of conversation?" I asked. Neil's grin widened. The kind where they kept mentioning someone named Travis and making jokes about second honeymoons and reliving the glory days. Ring any bells? Travis Harlan. Of course it was Travis Harlan. Olivia's high school boyfriend, the one who got away, the golden boy who'd married his college sweetheart and opened a successful gym on the other side of town. The same Travis who'd been sending my wife increasingly flirty text messages for the past 6 months. They seemed pretty entertained by the whole situation, Neil continued. Lots of giggling and comments about how some people never learn and what he doesn't know won't hurt him. I'm assuming the he in question would be you. I stared into my coffee, watching the cream swirl in lazy circles. Part of me wanted to be shocked, devastated, blindsided. But the truth was, I'd been expecting this conversation for weeks. The signs had been there, the secretive phone calls, the new lingerie that never made an appearance in our bedroom, the way she'd started working out again after years of complaining about her metabolism. How long do you think it's been going on? I asked. Neil shrugged. Based on their conversation, it sounds like it started as innocent texting and escalated from there. Mel made some comment about how Olivia was finally getting some excitement in her life, and Tara said something about Travis being just as hot as he was in high school. Wonderful, I muttered. My wife's having a midlife crisis with her teenage crush. There's more, Neil said, his voice dropping even lower. They were planning something for tonight. Kept talking about how Travis's wife is out of town on some nursing conference, and how it was the perfect opportunity for Olivia to see where things go. Julia Harlan, Travis's wife, a pediatric nurse at the children's hospital. I'd met her a few times at neighborhood barbecues and school events. She was quiet, intelligent, and completely devoted to her husband and their 2 kids. She didn't deserve this any more than I did. My phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. Change of plans for tonight. Meeting got moved to tomorrow, going to grab dinner with the girls instead. Don't wait up. I showed the message to Neil, who whistled low. The girls, huh? Mel and Tara just left here 20 minutes ago, talking about their hot dates tonight. Doesn't sound like a girls' night to me. Another buzz. This time, the message made my blood pressure spike. Actually, might crash at Travis's place tonight. His wife's out of town and we're going to catch up on old times. Don't be jealous. It's just one harmless night at my ex's place. I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times. The sheer audacity of it was breathtaking. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She was literally telling me she was going to spend the night with another man and asking me not to be jealous about it. Well, Neil asked, reading my expression. What did she say? I turned the phone around so he could see. His eyebrows shot up to his hairline. Holy shit, Max. She's not even pretending anymore. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could respond with hurt, with anger, with desperate pleas for her to reconsider. I could call her, demand an explanation, threaten divorce. All the normal, expected reactions of a betrayed husband. Instead, I typed, no problem. Does his wife know about this? Should I let her know they have a guest? I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My phone started ringing immediately. Olivia's panicked face filled the screen, but I declined the call. Then came the text messages, rapid fire and increasingly frantic. Max, what do you mean? You're being ridiculous. It's not what you think. Call me back right now. I turned off my phone and looked at Neil, who was staring at me with a mixture of admiration and concern. Well, I said, finishing my coffee in one long gulp, I guess it's showtime. Neil leaned back in his booth, shaking his head slowly. Max, buddy, I've known you for 15 years, and I've never seen you look like that before. Like what? Like you're about to burn down the entire neighborhood and roast marshmallows over the ashes. I considered this assessment. He wasn't wrong. For months, I'd been the understanding husband, making excuses for Olivia's behavior, convincing myself that we were just going through a rough patch. Every marriage had them, right? But there was something about that text message. the casual cruelty of it, that had flipped a switch in my brain. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said, turning my phone back on to watch the notifications explode across the screen. "She actually thinks I'm stupid enough to believe this is innocent." 12 missed calls, 23 text messages, and counting. I scrolled through them, watching Olivia's strategy evolve in real time. First came the denials, then the anger, then the attempts at manipulation, and finally, the bargaining. "She's calling you an asshole now," Neil observed, reading over my shoulder. "That's progress. At least she's being honest about something." My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize, but I had a pretty good guess who it was. I answered on the third ring. "Travis, I presume?" "What the hell is wrong with you?" The voice on the other end was tight with barely controlled rage. "Olivia is crying her eyes out because of some insane message you sent." "Which message was that? The one where I asked if your wife knew about your dinner plans?" Silence. Then, "Look, man, I don't know what Olivia told you, but we're just old friends catching up. Nothing inappropriate is happening." "Of course not," I said pleasantly. "That's why you called me from a different number instead of your regular phone. That's why Olivia's having a complete meltdown. That's why you're both so concerned about your wife finding out about your innocent dinner between old friends." More silence. I could practically hear him scrambling for a response. "Listen," he finally said. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding here is that you both thought I was too stupid to figure this out. But hey, thanks for clearing that up. Give my regards to Julia when she gets back from her conference." I hung up and immediately called Julia's number. It went straight to voicemail, which meant she was probably in a session or meeting. Perfect. "Hi, Julia, it's Max Brody. Hope you're having a relaxing trip. I heard Olivia's staying over at your place tonight while you're gone. Small world, huh? Anyway, give me a call when you get this. I'd love to catch up." Neil was staring at me with something approaching awe. "Jesus, Max, you're really going nuclear here." "They started this game," I said, standing up and dropping a $10 bill on the table. "I'm just playing by their rules." "Where are you going?" "To pay a visit to Travis's gym. I think it's time we had a face-to-face conversation." Iron Paradise Fitness was exactly the kind of place you'd expect a former high school quarterback to open. All mirrors and motivational posters, with a juice bar in the corner and a clientele that skewed heavily toward middle-aged men trying to recapture their youth. The irony wasn't lost on me. I found Travis in the free weights section, spotting for a guy who was clearly lifting more than he should. Even at 41, Travis looked like he could still throw a football 50 yards. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of confident swagger that had probably been catnip to teenage girls 25 years ago. He saw me coming, and his face went pale. He said something to his client and walked over, trying to project casual friendliness, but failing miserably. "Max, what brings you to my neck of the woods?" "Oh, you know how it is," I said loudly enough for the nearby gym members to hear. "My wife mentioned she was having dinner with an old friend tonight, and I thought I'd stop by and say hello. Maybe join you guys, make it a double date when Julia gets back." Travis's jaw clenched. "Like I said on the phone, it's just a friendly dinner. Nothing that would interest you." "Really?" Because Olivia made it sound pretty exciting. Said she was looking forward to catching up on old times and seeing where things go. Those were her exact words. A couple of gym members had stopped their workouts to listen. Travis noticed and grabbed my arm, trying to steer me toward a quieter corner. I didn't budge. "I think there's been a miscommunication," he started. "You know what I think?" I interrupted, my voice still carrying across the gym. "I think you're absolutely right. There has been a miscommunication. See, I communicated to my wife that I trusted her, and she communicated back that I was an idiot. But we're all adults here, right? We can work this out." I clapped him on the shoulder, hard enough to make him wince. "Just keep your hands to yourself, champ. Some of us still believe in things like marriage vows and basic human decency." The gym had gone quiet. Everyone was staring now, and Travis's face was red with embarrassment and anger. He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're making a scene over nothing. Back off." I smiled, patting his cheek with just enough force to make it sting. "Nothing? That's funny. Your wife might disagree when she finds out about your definition of nothing." I walked out of the gym with every eye following me, leaving Travis standing there like a deer in headlights. My phone was buzzing again, but I ignored it. Phase 1 was complete. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in my car outside Mel Davidson's house, watching her pace back and forth in her living room while talking animatedly on the phone. Mel was 42, twice divorced, and had the kind of artificially enhanced features that screamed, "trying too hard." She was also Olivia's closest confidant and biggest enabler. I walked up to her front door and rang the bell. The pacing stopped, and a few seconds later, Mel opened the door with a forced smile. "Max, what a surprise. Olivia's not here, if that's what you're wondering." "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you. I'm having some computer problems, and Olivia mentioned you needed help with your phone." It was a complete lie, but Mel's face lit up. She'd been complaining about her smartphone for weeks, convinced it was broken because she couldn't figure out how to use half the features. "Oh my God, yes! Come in, come in! It's been driving me crazy." I spent the next 30 minutes fixing her phone, which mostly involved showing her how to adjust settings she'd accidentally changed. While I worked, I casually mentioned my conversation with Travis, painting myself as the confused husband trying to understand why everyone was so upset about a simple dinner between friends. "I mean, if it's really just innocent catching up, why is everyone acting so weird about it?" I asked, handing her phone back. Mel's expression shifted. She was clearly torn between her loyalty to Olivia and her natural inclination to gossip. "Well," she said slowly, "I think maybe Olivia is just worried you might misinterpret things. You know how men can be about their wives having male friends." "But Travis isn't just a friend, is he? He's her ex-boyfriend. Her first love, according to the stories I've heard." "That was a long time ago, Max. They're both married now." "Right. Speaking of which, has anyone mentioned this dinner to Julia? I'd hate for her to come home and find unexpected guests." Mel's face went white. "You didn't what? Call Julia?" "Of course I did. She's a friend. I figured she'd want to know that Olivia was staying over while she was out of town." The color drained completely from Mel's face. "Max, you don't understand. Julia doesn't know about—" She caught herself, but it was too late. "Doesn't know about what, Mel?" "Nothing. I misspoke." But I could see the panic in her eyes. I'd confirmed what I already suspected. This had been going on longer than just tonight, and Julia was completely in the dark. "Well," I said, standing up and heading for the door, "I'm sure it's all just a big misunderstanding. Thanks for letting me fix your phone." As I reached the door, Mel grabbed my arm. "Max, wait. Maybe you should call Olivia. Talk this through before—" "Before what? Before Julia gets home and realizes her husband is having an affair?" Mel's grip tightened. "It's not an affair. They haven't— I mean, it's just emotional. Just talking and texting." "Just emotional," I repeated. "Just talking and texting. Just spending the night at his house while his wife is out of town. Just lying to everyone about what they're doing. Just destroying 2 marriages for the sake of reliving their teenage romance." I gently removed her hand from my arm. "Thanks for the clarification, Mel. That makes me feel so much better." I left her standing in her doorway, phone clutched in her shaking hands, probably already dialing Olivia's number to warn her that I was off the rails. Good. Let them panic. Let them scramble to cover their tracks and coordinate their stories. Because while they were busy playing damage control, I was already 3 steps ahead, and Julia Harlan was about to get the wake-up call of her life. My phone rang as I drove home. This time, it was Olivia, and I decided to answer. "Max, please, you have to listen to me." "I'm listening. I'm coming home right now. We need to talk. Actually, I think you should stick to your original plan. Go have dinner with Travis, catch up on old times, see where things go. Max, you're scaring me. This isn't like you. You're right, I said, pulling into my driveway. The old me would have believed your lies and made excuses for your behavior. The old me would have pretended not to notice the way you light up when your phone buzzes, or the way you've been dressing like you're 25 again, or the way you can't look me in the eye when you talk about your evening appointments. Silence. But here's the thing, Olivia. I'm not the old me anymore. You made sure of that when you decided our marriage was worth less than your high school fantasy. It's not what you think, it's exactly what I think, and now everyone else is going to think it too. I hung up and walked into my house, the same house we'd bought together 8 years ago, filled with the furniture we'd picked out together and the photos of the life we'd built together. But it didn't feel like our house anymore. It felt like a museum of a marriage that had died without me noticing. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Julia. Got your message. Flying home tonight, we need to talk." I smiled and poured myself a drink. The game was just getting started. Julia Harlan called me at 6:30 the next morning, her voice tight with exhaustion and barely controlled fury. "I need to know exactly what you meant by that message." I was sitting on my back porch with my coffee, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was going to be a beautiful day for watching someone else's world fall apart. "Which part would you like me to clarify?" "The part where you said Olivia was staying at my house. Because I just spent 4 hours on a red-eye flight, and when I got home 20 minutes ago, I found my husband and your wife having breakfast in my kitchen like they owned the place." "How did that conversation go?" "About as well as you'd expect. Travis is claiming it's all innocent, that they just fell asleep watching movies and nothing happened. Olivia ran out the back door in her underwear when she saw my car in the driveway." I nearly choked on my coffee. "In her underwear?" "Apparently, she was wearing one of my robes over it, but yeah, she grabbed her clothes and bolted like the house was on fire." "And you believe Travis's story about the innocent movie night?" Julia's laugh was bitter. "I might have, if I hadn't found the wine glasses and candles in my bedroom, or the lingerie that definitely doesn't belong to me stuffed under my side of the bed." "I'm sorry, Julia. You don't deserve this. Neither do you. How long have you known?" "Suspected for months. Confirmed yesterday. Your husband called me when I sent that message, trying to convince me it was all innocent. That's when I knew for sure." Son of a bitch. She was quiet for a moment, and I could hear her breathing heavily. "Max, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Shoot. How far do you want to take this?" The question caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we both just had our lives blown up by two people who thought they were smarter than us. We can handle this quietly, like adults, or we can make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people they really are." I thought about Olivia's text message, the casual cruelty of it. I thought about Travis's phone call, the arrogant assumption that I'd just roll over and accept their story. I thought about Mel's slip, confirming this had been going on behind our backs for God knows how long. "What did you have in mind?" "Meet me for lunch. Bring whatever evidence you have. Let's compare notes and see what we're working with." 2 hours later, I was sitting across from Julia in a diner on the other side of town, watching her scroll through months of suspicious text messages, unexplained charges on their joint credit card, and a trail of lies that would have impressed a professional con artist. Julia was prettier than I'd remembered, with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and green eyes that missed nothing. She was also furious in a way that made my own anger look like mild irritation. "Look at this," she said, sliding her phone across the table. "Hotel charges going back 3 months. Always the same place, always when I was working late shifts or out of town." I examined the credit card statements she'd printed out. The Riverside Inn, a boutique hotel downtown that catered to couples looking for romantic getaways. 12 different charges, always for one night, always when Julia had been conveniently absent. They weren't even trying to hide it, I said. They thought we were too stupid to notice, or too trusting to check. She pulled out another sheet of paper. I also found these in Travis's gym bag. It was a printout of text messages between Travis and Olivia, and they made my stomach turn. Not because they were explicitly sexual, but because they read like love letters between teenagers. All the passion and romance that had been missing from our marriages, poured out in digital love notes to each other. "Listen to this one," Julia said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Travis writes, "I can't stop thinking about the way you looked at me yesterday. It's like we're 18 again, and the whole world is ahead of us." And Olivia responds, "I know exactly what you mean. Being with you makes me remember who I used to be before I settled for safe and boring." "Safe and boring," I repeated. Wow. It gets better. Here's Travis again. "Julia's working a double shift tonight. Want to come over and I'll cook that pasta dish you used to love?" And Olivia, "Perfect. I'll tell Max I'm showing a house. He never questions my work schedule." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "When was that one?" Julia checked the date. 2 weeks ago, the night you thought she was working late." We sat in silence for a moment, both processing the depth of the betrayal. It wasn't just the affair itself, but the casual way they'd discussed deceiving us, like we were obstacles to be managed rather than people with feelings. "There's more," Julia said, pulling out her laptop. "I set up a camera in our bedroom after I started getting suspicious last month. I never checked it because I was hoping I was wrong." She opened a video file, and I immediately looked away. "Julia, I don't need to see. It's not what you think. Just watch." The video showed Travis and Olivia in the bedroom, but they were fully clothed, sitting on the bed and talking. Julia turned up the volume, and their conversation filled the diner booth. "I feel terrible about lying to them," Olivia was saying, "especially Max. He's been nothing but good to me." "I know," Travis replied. "Julia doesn't deserve this either. But what are we supposed to do? We can't help how we feel. Maybe we should just tell them, get divorced and be together openly." "Are you ready for that? Really ready? Because once we do this, there's no going back." "I think so. I mean, I love Max, but I'm not in love with him anymore. And what we have is special. It's worth fighting for." Julia paused the video. There are hours of these conversations, them planning their future together, talking about how they're going to break up our marriages, discussing which house they'll live in and how they'll split custody of Travis's kids. "They've been planning this for months," I said, staring at the frozen image on her screen. "Gets better. Want to know what the final straw was for me?" I wasn't sure I did, but I nodded. "Last night, before I got your message, I was planning to surprise Travis by coming home early. I called his gym to see if he was working late, and his assistant told me he'd left at 4 o'clock with some blonde woman, and they were all over each other in the parking lot. Jesus. So I called the house, and when he answered, I could hear music and laughter in the background. When I asked what he was doing, he said he was alone watching TV and missing me terribly." Julia closed the laptop and leaned back in her booth. "That's when I knew for sure. Not suspected, not worried, but knew. My husband is a liar and a cheater, and he thinks I'm too stupid to figure it out. So what do we do about it?" She smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "We make sure everyone knows exactly who they're dealing with, starting with their friends." "What do you mean?" "Mel Davidson and Tara Winters have been enabling this affair for months. I have proof." She pulled out her phone and played an audio recording. "I've been recording their conversations when they didn't know I was listening." The recording was from a coffee shop, and I recognized Mel's voice immediately. "I still can't believe Olivia's actually going through with this. I mean, Travis is hot and everything, but Max is such a good guy." Tara's voice responded, "Good guys are boring. Olivia deserves some excitement in her life. Besides, what Max doesn't know won't hurt him. I suppose. I just hope they don't get caught. The drama would be insane. Please, Max is clueless and Julia's always working. They could probably move in together and it would take months for anyone to notice. The recording continued with more details about the affair, including specific dates and locations where Travis and Olivia had met. It was damning evidence that their friends had not only known about the affair, but actively encouraged it. "How did you get this?" I asked. "Mel's phone has been acting up, remember? When you fixed it yesterday, you accidentally left a voice memo app running. It recorded everything she said for the next 6 hours, including a very detailed conversation with Tara about how they were going to help Olivia cover her tracks." I stared at Julia with new respect. "You planned this." "I've been planning this for weeks. I just needed confirmation that I wasn't crazy, and you gave me that with your phone message. Now we have everything we need to destroy them." "What's the plan?" Julia's smile widened. "Phase 1. Social destruction. We leak the audio recordings to the neighborhood Facebook group, along with the hotel receipts and some choice text messages. Let everyone know what kind of people they really are." "And Phase 2? Financial destruction. I'm filing for divorce and going after everything. The house, the gym, his retirement accounts, everything. And I'm using adultery as grounds, which means I get the majority of our assets." "What about Olivia?" "That's where you come in. You're going to do the same thing to her. File for divorce, claim adultery, and take her for everything she's worth." I thought about this for a moment. There's one problem. Olivia doesn't have much in her name. Most of our assets are joint. Then you move fast and freeze everything before she can. File first, claim abandonment and adultery, and request temporary control of all marital assets. By the time she figures out what's happening, she'll be broke and homeless. Is that legal? Completely. I've already talked to a lawyer. As long as you have evidence of the affair, which we do, you can claim she's been using marital funds to support her relationship with Travis. The hotel bills alone are enough to prove that. I felt a surge of something that might have been excitement. For months, I'd been the victim in this situation, the cuckolded husband who was too trusting to see what was happening right in front of him. But Julia was offering me something different, the chance to be the one in control, the one making the moves instead of reacting to them. "When do we start?" "Right now. I'm posting the audio recording to Facebook as soon as I get home. You need to call a lawyer and start the divorce proceedings today. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town will know what they did, and by tomorrow afternoon, they'll both be financially ruined." "What if they try to fight back?" Julia's expression turned cold. "With what? They're caught red-handed, with evidence of their affair plastered all over social media. Their friends know they're liars and cheaters. They'll be too busy dealing with the fallout to mount any kind of counterattack. And if they try to apologize, beg for forgiveness, then they should have thought of that before they decided to blow up our lives for the sake of reliving their high school romance." I raised my coffee cup in a mock toast. "To making them pay." Julia clinked her cup against mine. "To making them wish they'd never been born." I sat in the car a minute longer, letting the engine tick as it cooled. The Facebook post had already hit 87 comments, our street's version of a public execution. Neighbors I'd barbecued with, whose kids played in our yard, whose Christmas cards still hung on the fridge, were now typing variations of, "How could she?" and "Poor Alex," and "I always knew something was off with her." One woman I barely knew had posted a crying emoji followed by, "This is why I don't trust anyone anymore." Another suggested Olivia needed Jesus. A third simply wrote, "Trash." I locked the phone and stepped out. The autumn air smelled of wood smoke and wet leaves. Olivia's silhouette moved faster now, sharp, frantic turns. She must have seen my headlights. The front door was unlocked. She'd left it that way in her rush to get inside and start damage control. I stepped into the foyer. The house smelled like the lavender candle she always burned when she was stressed. Tonight it just smelled like pretense. She spun toward me from the living room, phone still clutched like a lifeline. Her eyes were red, mascara tracked down her cheeks in thin black rivers. She looked smaller than she had that morning, smaller than the woman who'd smirked and said, "Don't wait up." "Alex," she said, voice cracking on the first syllable. "You did this." I closed the door behind me. The click sounded final. "I posted the truth," I said. "You and Travis wrote the script." She laughed, a short, ugly sound. "You think this makes you strong? Humiliating me in front of the whole neighborhood, destroying our lives?" "Our lives?" I echoed. "You torched ours months ago. I'm just sweeping up the ashes so everyone can see what you really are." She took a step forward, then stopped, as if the floor had suddenly become hot. "People are calling me. My mother called. She's crying. My sister wants to fly out. The girls at book club, they're texting me screenshots. They're unfollowing me, unfriending me. Like I'm contagious." "Good," I said. "Maybe now you'll understand what it feels like to be erased." Her mouth opened, closed. She looked around the room like she was seeing it for the first time. The photos on the mantel of us smiling at weddings, vacations, Emily's graduation. The couch where we'd watched entire series together. The rug we'd argued over at the store because she wanted cream and I wanted gray, and we'd compromised on beige. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. "Then why did you keep doing it?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Every late night, every yoga class, every time you came home smelling like his cologne. You could have stopped. You could have left cleanly. Instead, you stayed and lied and laughed about it with your friends." She sank onto the arm of the couch. I thought you'd never find out. Or if you did, you'd just take it. Like you always took everything. Quietly. Politely." I nodded slowly. That was the old plan. The old Alex would have cried in the garage, begged you to stay, offered counseling, promised to change whatever it was you didn't like. He'd have let you keep the house, the dog, half the savings, and still sent you Christmas cards. She looked up, eyes wide. "And now?" "Now," I said. "The old Alex is dead. You helped kill him. So did Mel and Tara. So did Travis. Congratulations, you all succeeded. But resurrection hurts and the new version doesn't play nice." My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it. Another notification from the group. Someone had tagged the local paper's community page. The scandal was metastasizing. Olivia followed my gaze. "They're going to print this?" "Probably," I said. "Small towns love a good fall from grace story, and you gave them a starring role." She pressed her palms to her eyes. "I can't lose everything. The house, the girls' college fund, my job. They'll hear about this. Clients will drop me." "You should have thought about that before you used the company card for hotel rooms," I said. "HR already has the receipts. Travis is on administrative leave. Your boss texted me an hour ago, apologizing, asking if there was anything he could do. I told him to do his job." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You talked to my boss?" I forwarded the relevant emails. Professional courtesy. She stood up suddenly, voice rising. "You're enjoying this?" I considered the question. "No, I'm not enjoying it. I'm relieved. There's a difference. For months I walked around feeling like I was losing my mind, gaslit, dismissed, wondering if I was imagining things. Now the truth is out there, and for once, I'm not the one questioning reality." She crossed her arms, trying to reclaim some dignity. "So what happens now? You throw me out, take the house, leave me on the street?" "I'm not throwing you out tonight," I said. "You can sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow you'll need to start packing. I've already spoken to a realtor. The house goes on the market next month. We split the equity clean, 50-50 after the mortgage. Emily gets her college fund untouched. The rest, lawyers can sort." She blinked. "You've already planned this." "I've had time," I said. You gave me plenty of nights alone to think. She looked at the stairs, then back at me. I still love you, Alex. In my way. Your way, I repeated. That's the problem. Your way included betrayal, mockery, and treating me like a doormat. I don't want that kind of love anymore. She started crying again. Quiet, defeated sobs this time. I didn't move to comfort her. I'd done that for years. It was someone else's turn now. I'm going to take a shower, I said. When I come down, I expect you to be in the guest room. Don't touch my things. Don't call anyone else tonight. We'll talk to the lawyer together on Monday. She nodded, barely. I walked past her, up the stairs, and into the master bathroom. I turned on the shower, hot, almost scalding, and stood under it until my skin turned pink. The water washed away the day's sweat, the tension, the last traces of hesitation. When I came back downstairs in sweats and a t-shirt, the living room was dark. Olivia's door was closed. A thin line of light showed under it. I could hear her voice, low, tearful, on the phone. Probably her sister. I didn't care. I poured a final whiskey, sat in my chair by the window, and watched the streetlights flicker on. Across the way, Mrs. Flanders's porch light was still on. She'd probably be on the phone with half the block right now, rehashing every detail she'd seen or heard. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel rage. I felt empty, clean, like a house after a long, overdue fumigation. Tomorrow would bring more fallout, more calls, more tears, more accusations. The divorce would drag on for months, money fights, custody of the dog, who got the good silver. But none of it scared me anymore, because the worst had already happened. She'd left me in every way that mattered long before tonight, and I'd survived it. I finished the whiskey, set the glass down, and turned off the lamp. For the first time in years, I slept without checking the front door, without wondering whose car might pull up at 2 a.m., without dreaming of the woman I used to love. The new Alex didn't dream of ghosts. He dreamed of mornings. The front door slammed behind me as I walked into what felt like a war zone. Olivia was standing in our living room, her phone pressed to her ear, mascara streaked down her cheeks like black tears. She looked up when she heard me enter, and the expression on her face was pure desperation. "I have to call you back," she said into the phone, then immediately turned on me. "Max, thank God you're here. Someone posted these horrible lies about us on Facebook and everyone's going crazy. You have to help me fix this." "What kind of lies?" I asked, setting my keys on the coffee table with deliberate calm. "They're saying Travis and I are having an affair. They posted fake text messages and some doctored audio recording. It's insane." "Fake text messages?" I repeated. "So you're saying you never wrote, 'Being with you makes me remember who I used to be before I settled for safe and boring'?" Olivia's face went white. "How did you... Or how about, 'I'll tell Max I'm showing a house. He never questions my work schedule'? That one really stung, by the way." She sank onto the couch, her phone falling from her nerveless fingers. "Max, I can explain. Please do." "I'm dying to hear how you explain 3 months of hotel receipts, recorded conversations about leaving me, and the fact that Julia found you in her bedroom wearing her bathrobe." "You talked to Julia?" "We had lunch. Lovely woman. Really smart, too. Much smarter than either of us gave her credit for." Olivia's breathing was getting faster, more panicked. "Max, please. I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. Travis and I, we never meant for it to go this far. It just happened." "What just happened? The months of planning? The hotel rooms? The lies? Which part was accidental?" I was confused. I felt trapped, like my life was just this endless routine of work and marriage and pretending to be happy. When Travis and I started talking again, it reminded me of who I used to be. "Safe and boring," I said. "That's how you described our marriage to him." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I didn't mean it like that. You're a wonderful husband, Max. You're kind and stable and boring. Don't forget boring. That's not fair. I was emotional. I was confused. You were planning to divorce me and move in with Travis. I heard the recordings, Olivia. You weren't confused. You knew exactly what you were doing. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her trying to figure out how much I actually knew. What recordings? I pulled out my phone and played the audio of her conversation with Travis about breaking up our marriages. Her face crumpled as she heard her own voice discussing their future together. Where did you get that? Does it matter? The point is, I know everything. The affair, the lies, the plans to leave me. All of it. Olivia stood up abruptly, wiping her eyes. Fine, you want the truth? Yes, I'm in love with Travis. Yes, we've been seeing each other. But I never meant to hurt you, Max. I was going to tell you everything after I figured out how to do it without destroying your life. How thoughtful of you. Don't be sarcastic. This is hard enough already. Hard for who? You? Because from where I'm standing, you've been having the time of your life while I've been sitting here like an idiot, trusting my wife and believing her lies. I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it, Olivia. You didn't just cheat on me. You humiliated me. You made me look like a fool to our friends, our neighbors, everyone we know. No one has to know about this. We can work it out quietly, get divorced like adults. Too late for that. I showed her my phone, open to the Facebook post that now had over 200 comments. Everyone already knows. She grabbed my phone, scrolling through the comments with growing horror. Our neighbors, friends, co-workers, even people we barely knew, all weighing in on our personal business. Most of them were supportive of me and Julia, expressing shock and disappointment at Travis and Olivia's behavior. This is a nightmare, she whispered. For you, maybe. For me, it's justice. She looked up at me with something like fear in her eyes. What do you mean? I mean, this is just the beginning, Olivia. You wanted to destroy our marriage for your high school fantasy? Fine. But you're going to pay for it. Max, you're scaring me. This isn't like you. You keep saying that, but you're wrong. This is exactly like me. You just never bothered to find out what I'm really capable of when someone I trusted betrays me. My phone rang. The lawyer Julia had recommended, returning my call from earlier. Max Brody, this is attorney Sarah Mitchell. I understand you need to file for divorce on grounds of adultery? I looked directly at Olivia as I answered. That's right. I have extensive evidence of my wife's affair, and I want to move as quickly as possible. Max, no! Olivia lunged for the phone, but I stepped away. I can file the paperwork today, the lawyer continued. Given the evidence you described, I can also request immediate temporary control of all marital assets pending the divorce proceedings. What does that mean exactly? It means your wife won't be able to access your joint bank accounts, credit cards, or any other shared assets until the divorce is finalized. It's a protective measure to prevent the dissipation of marital funds. Olivia was shaking her head frantically, mouthing, "Please," over and over. Do it, I said. File everything today. I'll need you to come in and sign some documents, but yes, I can have everything filed by close of business. Your wife will be served with papers tomorrow morning. Perfect. I'll be there in an hour. I hung up and looked at Olivia, who had collapsed back onto the couch. You can't do this, Max. You can't just cut me off from our money. Watch me. I have bills to pay. A car payment. You should have thought of that before you decided to spend our money on hotel rooms with your boyfriend. This is vindictive and cruel. No, vindictive and cruel would be posting those hotel receipts on Facebook with a detailed breakdown of how much of our joint money you spent on your affair. Although now that you mention it, that's not a bad idea. She stood up, her face flushed with anger. You can't humiliate me like this. I have a career, a reputation. Had, I corrected. Past tense. You had a reputation. Now you're the woman who cheated on her husband with a married man and got caught. Good luck selling houses to family-oriented clients with that hanging over your head. You bastard. There we go. More honesty. I like this version of you better than the fake apologetic one. Olivia grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm not going to stand here and let you abuse me. Where are you going? To Travis's place? Because I have some bad news about that. Julia's filing for divorce too, and she's going after everything. The house, the gym, his kids. Travis is going to be too busy trying to save his own ass to worry about taking care of you. She stopped with her hand on the doorknob. What do you mean? I mean your boyfriend is about to lose everything he owns. Julia's a lot smarter than you gave her credit for, and she's been planning this for weeks. By the time she's done with him, Travis won't be able to afford a cardboard box, let alone support a mistress. You're lying. Call him and ask. Oh wait, you can't. Julia took his phone when she kicked him out of the house this morning. Olivia's shoulders sagged. She kicked him out? With nothing but the clothes on his back, turns out when you sign a prenup that includes an adultery clause, cheating on your wife has consequences. A prenup? Julia's family has money. Old money. The kind that comes with lawyers who write very detailed contracts about what happens when someone violates the terms of their marriage. The color drained from Olivia's face as the reality of the situation began to sink in. Travis wasn't just her lover. He was supposed to be her escape plan, her new life. If he was broke and homeless, where did that leave her? This can't be happening, she whispered. Oh, but it is, and it's going to get worse. What do you mean? I smiled, and I could see my expression reflected in her eyes. It wasn't a nice smile. I mean, I'm just getting started, Olivia. You wanted to play games with people's lives? Welcome to the big leagues. My phone buzzed with a text from Julia. Travis's gym is closed. Landlord evicted him for non-payment of rent. Apparently he's been spending the lease money on hotel rooms and gifts for his girlfriend. I showed the message to Olivia, whose face went from pale to green. He's been stealing from his business to pay for your affair. That's a felony, by the way. Max, please, I know you're angry, but this has gone far enough. Let's just end this quietly and move on with our lives. Quietly? Like the way you quietly destroyed our marriage? Like the way you quietly humiliated me in front of our entire community? I said I was sorry. No, you said you didn't mean to hurt me. That's not the same thing as being sorry. Fine, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I cheated. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I hurt you. Is that what you want to hear? What I want to hear is the truth. Are you sorry you did it, or are you sorry you got caught? She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. The silence stretched between us, and I could see her struggling with whether to keep lying or finally be honest. I'm sorry I got caught, she finally whispered. Thank you, I said. That's the first honest thing you've said to me in months. So what happens now? Now you get to experience what it's like to lose everything you care about. Your marriage, your money, your reputation, your future with Travis, all of it, gone. And then what? You get your revenge and we both end up miserable and alone. I won't be alone, I said, walking toward the door. I'll have my self-respect back. I'll have the satisfaction of knowing that actions have consequences. And I'll have the knowledge that I didn't let you get away with destroying my life. Where are you going? To sign divorce papers. Don't wait up. As I drove to the lawyer's office, my phone kept buzzing with notifications from Facebook. The post about the affair had been shared dozens of times, and the comments were getting more brutal by the hour. People were posting their own stories about Travis and Olivia, adding details I hadn't known about their relationship. Apparently, they'd been seen together at restaurants across town, holding hands and acting like a couple. They'd been spotted at Travis's gym after hours, and several people had witnessed them kissing in parking lots and hotel lobbies. The affair hadn't been as secret as they'd thought. People had just been too polite to say anything. Until now. One comment in particular caught my attention. It was from a woman named Lisa, who worked at the Riverside Inn. I remember these two. They were regulars for months, always paid cash, always requested the same room. The woman would arrive first and wait in the bar, then the man would show up and they'd go upstairs together. They acted like they were married, but I always thought it was weird that they never had any luggage. Another comment from a server at a downtown restaurant. They came in every Tuesday for weeks. Same table, same order. Always very affectionate, lots of hand-holding and whispering. When I saw the Facebook post, I recognized them immediately. The evidence of their affair was everywhere, documented by dozens of witnesses who'd seen them together over the past few months. They'd thought they were being discreet, but they'd actually been putting on a public display of their relationship for anyone who cared to notice. By the time I reached the lawyer's office, I was feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Powerful. For the first time since this whole mess started, I was the one making the moves instead of reacting to them. I was the one in control, and I was just getting started. 3 days after filing for divorce, I was sitting in my kitchen, eating breakfast and scrolling through the latest Facebook drama when Olivia's car pulled into the driveway. She'd been staying at a hotel since our confrontation, paying cash because I'd frozen all our joint accounts. From the looks of her rumpled clothes and unwashed hair, it hadn't been a pleasant few days. She walked in without knocking, which was bold, considering she was technically trespassing now that the legal separation was in effect. "We need to talk," she said, her voice hoarse, from what I assumed was a combination of crying and yelling. "About what?" "I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly the other day. About ending this insanity before it destroys both of us." I looked up from my phone, where I'd been reading the latest update on Travis's situation. His gym had been permanently closed, his assets seized by creditors, and he was facing criminal charges for embezzling from his business account. Julia wasn't messing around. "I think you're confused about who's being destroyed here," I said. "From where I'm sitting, things are going pretty well." "Max, please, I know you're angry, but this has to stop. The whole town is talking about us. I can't go anywhere without people staring and whispering. My boss is reconsidering my position because clients don't want to work with me anymore." "That's terrible," I said without any trace of sympathy. "Have you considered the possibility that actions have consequences?" "You've made your point. I get it, okay? I screwed up, I hurt you, and now I'm paying for it. But how long is this going to go on?" "How long was your affair going on? 3 months, 6 months, a year?" She looked away. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me. How long, Olivia?" 8 months, she whispered. 8 months. 2/3 of a year of lies, deception, and humiliation. While I'd been working to support our household and trying to figure out why my wife seemed distant, she'd been building an entire secret life with another man. 8 months, I repeated. "And you think 3 days of consequences is too much?" "I think you're being cruel and vindictive, and it's not like you." "You keep saying that, but you're wrong. You just never bothered to find out what I'm really like when someone betrays me." My phone buzzed with a text from Julia. "Phase 2 is ready. Are you?" I looked at Olivia, who was standing in my kitchen like a stranger, and realized I felt absolutely nothing for her. No love, no anger, no regret. She was just a problem that needed to be solved. "Actually," I said, standing up and grabbing my keys, "you're right. This needs to end. Come with me." "Where are we going?" "To finish this." 20 minutes later, we were standing in the parking lot of what used to be Travis's gym. The building was empty now, with a "for lease" sign in the window and police tape across the entrance. Julia was waiting for us, along with a man I didn't recognize. "Olivia," Julia said pleasantly. "So nice to see you again. I don't think you've met my lawyer, David Chen." The lawyer stepped forward with a briefcase. "Ms. Brody, I have some documents for you." "What kind of documents?" "A civil lawsuit," Julia said. "I'm suing you for alienation of affection, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and conspiracy to defraud." Olivia's face went white. "You can't sue me for having an affair." "Actually, I can. Alienation of affection is still a valid cause of action in Michigan, and I have extensive evidence that you deliberately pursued my husband with the intent of destroying our marriage. That's insane. Is it? Because I have recordings of you and Travis planning your future together, discussing how you were going to leave your respective spouses and coordinating your lies to keep the affair secret. That sounds like conspiracy to me. The lawyer handed Olivia a thick stack of papers. You're being sued for $2 million in damages, plus attorney fees and court costs. $2 million? I don't have $2 million. Then you'll need to find a way to get it, Julia said calmly, because I intend to collect every penny. Olivia turned to me with desperation in her eyes. Max, you can't let her do this. We're still married. She can't sue me for everything we own. Actually, she can, I said, because as of this morning, we're not married anymore. What do you mean? I pulled out my own set of papers. Emergency divorce decree, granted on grounds of adultery, abandonment, and financial misconduct. It's already been filed and approved. That's impossible. You can't get divorced in 3 days. You can when your wife has been using marital funds to support an affair and when she abandons the marital home to live with her lover. I've been staying at a hotel. After being caught in another man's bed, the judge was very sympathetic to my situation. Olivia sank against her car, clutching the lawsuit papers. This isn't real. This can't be happening. Oh, it's very real, Julia said, and it's about to get worse. A police car pulled into the parking lot, and Officer Martinez got out. He was a neighborhood cop who'd known both our families for years, and he looked uncomfortable with what he was about to do. Ms. Davidson, he said, approaching Olivia, I have a warrant for your arrest. Arrest? For what? Conspiracy to commit embezzlement, accessory to theft, and fraud. I looked at Julia, who was smiling like a cat who'd caught a very fat mouse. What did you do? I did some digging into how Travis was paying for those hotel rooms and expensive dinners. Turns out he was stealing from his business account, but he wasn't acting alone. Someone with real estate connections was helping him hide the money by funneling it through fake property transactions. The blood drained from Olivia's face. I didn't know it was stolen money. Maybe not at first, Julia said. But you knew something was wrong when he started paying for everything in cash and asking you to help him move money through your real estate accounts. The paper trail is very clear. Officer Martinez stepped forward with handcuffs. Ma'am, I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back. Max! Olivia screamed as the handcuffs clicked into place. You can't let them do this to me. I'm your wife. Ex-wife, I corrected, as of about an hour ago. Please, I'll do anything. I'll give you everything I have. You don't have anything, Julia pointed out. I'm taking it all in the lawsuit. As Officer Martinez led Olivia toward his patrol car, she kept looking back at me with a mixture of desperation and disbelief. This isn't you, Max. This isn't who you are. You're right, I called after her. This is who I am when someone I trusted destroys my life for their own selfish pleasure. The patrol car drove away, leaving Julia, her lawyer, and me standing in the empty parking lot. The silence stretched for a moment before Julia started laughing. Did you see her face when she realized what was happening? Priceless, I agreed. How long do you think she'll be in jail? The criminal charges will probably result in probation and community service, assuming she cooperates and pays restitution, but the civil lawsuit will keep her broke for years. And Travis? Travis is facing serious jail time. Embezzling from a business account is a felony, and he stole over $200,000 to fund his affair. He'll be lucky if he gets out in 5 years. I felt a strange sense of completion, like a puzzle piece clicking into place. For months, I'd been living with the knowledge that something was wrong with my marriage, but unable to put my finger on what it was. Now I knew exactly what had been wrong, and I'd done something about it. Do you ever feel bad about it? I asked Julia. About destroying their lives so completely? She considered the question seriously. I feel bad that it came to this. I feel bad that two people we trusted chose to betray us rather than just asking for divorces if they were unhappy. But do I feel bad about the consequences? No. They made their choices, and now they get to live with them. What's next for you? I'm moving back to Chicago to be closer to my family, starting over somewhere nobody knows about this mess. She looked at me curiously. What about you? I'm thinking about traveling. Maybe taking that photography course I always talked about but never had time for. Turns out, when you're not supporting a cheating spouse and paying for her secret hotel rooms, you have a lot more disposable income. Julia laughed. The silver lining to betrayal, financial freedom. That, and self-respect. Turns out those are worth more than I thought. We stood there for another moment, looking at the empty building where Travis used to work, where he'd first started planning his affair with my wife. It seemed fitting that it was empty now, just another casualty of their selfish choices. Well, Julia said finally, I should get going. I have a moving truck coming tomorrow. Good luck in Chicago. Good luck with your photography. She got in her car and drove away, leaving me alone in the parking lot. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the Facebook comments one more time. The story had taken on a life of its own, with people sharing it across multiple social media platforms and adding their own commentary about the importance of honesty in relationships. Olivia and Travis had become a cautionary tale, a reminder that some mistakes have consequences that last far longer than the moment of pleasure that caused them. Their names would be associated with this scandal for years to come, long after I'd moved on and forgotten about them. I got in my car and drove home, feeling lighter than I had in months. The house was quiet and peaceful, free from the tension and lies that had filled it for so long. I poured myself a drink and sat on my back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red. My phone buzzed with one final notification. A friend request from someone I didn't recognize with a message attached. Saw your story on Facebook. My husband cheated too. Any advice? I smiled and typed back, don't get mad. Get even. Because sometimes when people choose to destroy your life for their own selfish pleasure, the only appropriate response is to make sure they understand exactly what they've lost. Sometimes the only way to get justice is to take it yourself. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply showing people who they really are and letting them live with the consequences. I deleted the Facebook app from my phone and went inside to start planning my new life. The old Max Brody, the trusting husband who made excuses for his wife's behavior, was gone forever. In his place was someone stronger, smarter, and completely unwilling to be anyone's victim. It was going to be a very good life.